materials and rendered out in mental ray. Now I can show you how this would look if I try to render this out in software. As you can see, the other boot completely disappeared because mental ray textures just don't show up in Maya software. And as you can see, the tip of this boot, which is also a mental ray texture, doesn't show up. So you won't be able to get your mental ray textures out in software. So you gotta make sure that you're rendering in mental ray. So if I go back and render this again in mental ray, everything that I want to show up shows up. Now with this boot, the boot on the left, or better known as the right boot, I created this shader network using a Maya mental ray node for mixing together or layering mental ray textures. This is known as the MIB color mixer, which under your mental rays tab, if you scroll down, right, yeah, it's under data conversion. I always forget this. Under data conversion, as you can see, is the Maya mix color. So I'm going to click on that and create a new one. And I'm going to just create only that in my workspace. Next, I'm going to need a mental ray material to add to this boot. So now I have to think, what material can I use that would let me give me the effect similar to what I was originally using. Because if you look in this viewport, I have like a wide range of things that this is plugged into. So I'm using the Maya Material X passes for this, which is located right here in the mental ray materials. So I'm going to create that as well. So I'm going to go back to my utilities because I already created the color mixer. I'm just going to highlight these two and have them selected. Now, when you click on the input and output connections for the Maya Material X passes, you want to make sure you click on its shading group. So here you have its material shader in this drop down menu for mental ray. Under custom shaders, you have its material and shadow shader. I'm going to plug in this Maya color mixer into both. So now this color mixer is what's going to be driving this Maya mental ray passes material. So with my boot selected, I'm going to assign this new material to my boot, and I'm going to click render. as you can see, there's no colors or any values to it. So we're going to have to create that. In the Maya color mixer parameters, if we look at this closely, you have the first set of options called number. Number basically is the number of attributes that you plan to use. So mode, weight, and color attributes all correspond to each other by the number. So 0 will correspond to 0, will correspond to another 0. So you'll have your mode 1, so mode 0, which is set to blend, will correspond to the weight, which will correspond to the color that also has 0. And the fact that this is set to 2, that means this is including 0 and 1. So 0 is still considered a number. So if I wanted to include color 2, I'd have to set the number of attributes to 3. So that way I have 3 modes and their corresponding attributes. So now I'm going to grab my car paint, which is a mental ray texture. And I'm going to go into the color mixer, and I'm going to say that this is going to be color 0. Sometimes you might get the connection error to pop up, other times it may not. So now I'm going to plug in the base color to color 0. So now it has that color. So if I were to render this out, it's still set to blend because you're still seeing it as black because it's set to blend. And that's because it's blending the red and the black, and they have strong weight values. If I turn down the weight value for 1, see, it's still showing up because it's automatically set to blend. So if I set it to add, now you see by default in Maya black is 0, so it's not there. So it's like I'm set it to add, and it doesn't have anything really to add to it, so it's just showing the default color. I could get the same results by setting this to 1. So now if I set this back to blend, which it was at by default, and which gave me a black, and I click render, I'm still getting the red. If I set it back to 2, click render, now it's back to black because it's mixing, it's trying to blend in the black and the red. Now you can try and see if it would mix. Doesn't mix. So you can change any setting here. So I'm trying to add to this. So going back into my Hypershade, I can try adding another material. So I'm going to create a Lambert. And on my colors, I'm going to plug that into color 1. And let's see how that renders out. So as you can see, it adds and blends a mixture of the two. So with the diffuse, I can go in and I can add for the Maya Lambert mental ray material my boot 01 color. And let's render and see how that comes out. And you see, it starts to look a little different. But we're still not achieving the results that we want. So going back in, I'm going to try it and see if a mix will work this time. Well, there it is. I'm getting the material, but I'm not getting the other material that I wanted. And here's where the weight comes into play. So the weight of this Lambert is basically the same as, you know, your alpha channel. So I'm gonna plug in my boot alpha into this. So here is boot alpha 2. I'm gonna check alpha's luminance. And now let's render this out and see. And there you have it. We're starting to get to where we want. We're going to start to achieve what we want as far as layering this texture. So now going back into the Maya color mixer, I've plugged in the alpha channel, which basically is going to be cutting out the transparency or the weight for certain areas. And I'm using it in conjunction with 1. 1 is my boot color. So my weight 1 is also my boot color with alpha channel. So now it's mixing the two when you have it set to mix. So now I don't really want this color though. I'm gonna break this because it didn't come through the way I want. I'm gonna re-drop this on here. For some reason, the first time it didn't drop into the settings, but now when I redo it again, after having plugged in another texture, I'm able to drag and drop back onto color 0 my mental ray car paint. So now let's click render and see how that comes out. So now I'm getting the metal material that I wanted. So now I just need to go back in and actually give it the color I wanted. And let's render that out. So there you have it. Boot's starting to look similar. So back in the color mixer, I need to plug in my bump map or a normal map. Now, there's no option for this here. Like, what do I do? I could probably go to my materials, but I don't see any material. Like with the layered shader, I was able to just plug it in to the normal bump map for the boot that I was using. But as you can see here, if I go to this Maya Lambert, there's no bump map for it. I mean, the settings allow me to change the color of the boot a little. So let me render this out and see. So now it's starting to come same kind of shade as the other boot, but how do I get this normal map in? I mean, the car paint, I don't even see a spot. Like, where do I plug in the bump map? I mean, you can see I have a number of options here. Well, one solution to this problem that I use is use the Maya set to normal. And plug that into the base. And then from there, I can go into the utilities and grab a bump map and plug that into its normal. And like with the normal bump map, I can just plug in my normal map from there. So there we have it, boot normal. So let's see if this actually works. Well, I'm starting to get something. I mean, you'll have to mess with the settings a bit. But you can see the Maya color mix allows me to plug in any number of things. So let's see. What's next? Ah, the dirt. Now, if I remember correctly, I was just using a regular Lambert for the dirt and the color. So I'm just going to use another Maya Mental Ray Lambert. And I'll plug that into color 2. So let me just change this diffuse color. And there we have it. So let's render this out and see. Wait a minute. My dirt is not showing up. Why is that? Anytime that happens, you have to go back and think, how many attributes am I using? I'm using 1, 2, 3. You don't have to worry about the base. That's by default. I'm using 3. But wait, my number is set to 2 because it's only using 2. So I have to change this to 3. So now it's including my third attribute, which is the dirt. So now I can go and render this. So there. Hey, the dirt shows up. Okay. So now I'll just have to plug in an alpha channel for the dirt. And let's cut that dirt out. So I'll go to my dirt alpha, apply it, turn on alpha's luminance, and click render. Wait a minute. My dirt is there, but then where's the rest of mine? That's it. See, that's where you have to go back and remember that each attribute has this corresponding part to it. So like before, I don't want to blend the colors. I just want to mix it in. So I'm going to change it to mix now and render that out. So now I have my dirt on top of my boot. Now, going back into the dirt settings, I don't need all this extra influences for the color. I'm just going to turn those down. And now my dirt is the color I want it to. So as you can see, my boot is starting to show up with the textures that I'm layering in Mental Ray. So now you can pretty much tell from here you can just layer any number of things. Now rather than layering nodes on top of nodes here for the bump map like you would normally do, what I did in this alternate version see, this is the original version. This is the alternate version. What I did was, instead of layering stuff like before, I just went back and used the original blend that I created and plugged that in with its bump map and normal maps plugged into it, rather than trying to do every little thing. So I still have the same settings of 3, mix, 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 and then I still have the values and everything that's set. And I still have the Maya Miss normals that I plugged into the color base like before. Everything's pretty much the same setup, except the materials are different. I kept the Lambert that I used for the boot, but I didn't keep the Lambert, the Maya Mental Ray Lambert that I used for the dirt. So I have a regular Lambert with its bump maps and alpha channels plugged in that I used to plug in for the dirt itself on 3. I mean on 2. So then you can see I already plugged in everything here. So if I go back and assign this mental ray passes to my boot, which was the original one I was using. Let me make sure that the boot is selected and assign it again. And you see I'm getting the same effect. So even if you're not using complete mental ray textures, you can use your regular Maya shaded network and plug those into mental ray, and vice versa, like I've showed you. So here we have Maya shading network with mental ray plugged in, and then here we have a Maya mental ray with Maya shaders plugged in. So there's like 2 different ways of going about this, but when you render it out, you achieve the same result. So it comes down to a matter of preference. For me, I find it easier to just use the regular Maya shading network, because then it has all its attributes as bump and everything already listed. So, if I go into this blend, I have bump, I have transparency, I have all that listed. I don't have to worry about plugging in a whole lot. But the Maya color mixer is very good for use if you're strictly worried about using only mental ray. I hope this video was informative. Thank you for taking the time to watch this.